Hey there, Brenny here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today we're going to start part 4 of our, gel crayon series. So we're going to be looking at these as a group and kind of talking about them and comparing them a little bit more directly with each other. I'm also going to be showing you, I did a page in A Million Cute Animals by Lulu Mayo. I colored a page with each one of these gel crayons. So, starting off here, we called this the O marker because it was O-U-C-B-A-I-L-A-C-E. So I have no idea how to pronounce this, so we jokingly called it the O marker. So you can see that I put these in the order from cheapest to most expensive. So on this end we have the cheapest, and here are coveted Neocolor 2s, Gelatos, Distress Crayon, Lyra's, Eye Crayons, King Art, Mungio, Mr. Pen, Zayar, Shuttle Art, and the O one. Okay? And just as a recap, we're at 33 cents a crayon, 42.71, 49, so I guess this one should be here. 79, 80, 82, 126, 162, 168, and 173. That is if you buy them in a decent size set. Most of these 42 or 48 to 72 sets is where I got the price from. I tried to be fair throughout. Now, as far as I'm going to talk about the pages, but I wanted to kind of go through each of these so that you could kind of see what I consider the pros and cons. Now, we've got 5, you've got these 6 that are more like, you know, they come in a plastic tubing, and then you pop a lid off, and there's where you have your crayon, and then they twist to extend your crayon, right? And then we have 4 that are like actual crayons. These 4 are very similar. The Mungio, the Lyra, the Eye Crayon, and the Neocolor 2. And then we have Gelatos, which are a little different than all of these. They're more similar to these in that they come in the plastic container and they have a twisty tube, right? But they're nowhere near as long. Now, to be fair, when you look at this, you probably think, well, I get a lot more crayon with this one. I don't necessarily think that's the case because I don't think the crayon goes all the way down here. I don't know how far out I can. Let's just see. Well, okay, so that's as far as it goes. So we basically have like this much crayon. Well, let's do this. Okay, so we almost have as much crayon with the Gelato, but it is significantly thicker. You can see that. But nowhere near as much. It's almost twice the amount of pigment or crayon in the actual crayon looking ones than is what is in this plastic tubing, right? Even with this being thicker, I still feel like it's not twice as thick. Can you see that? Am I in camera? I hope so. Maybe like that. So it is thicker, but this is considerably longer. 2.5 times longer. Right? Almost closer to 3. Now I have no idea what this is. I guess it's just kind of wax. These are my gelatos are pretty old. But I wanted, and this came from my oldest set, but I wanted to try and pick very similar colors so that I could do as fair a comparison as I can. Now, obviously, Salty Ocean is not the same as Boysenberry, or is that what this one's called? Yeah, Boysenberry. So we are going to have some variety. But I want you to keep that in mind when you're thinking about the cost of these. Okay? Because my Neocolor 2s, here is one of mine. I did try and pick a newer one. But when you use these, you literally can't even tell where I've used them. Whereas when I use something like this, it's a lot more smushy and you see it visibly go down. So that's kind of the difference that I see in terms of just physicality. But you might like the feel of something a lot thicker in your hand as opposed to the thinner crayon. I think some of that is going to be personal choice. Am I making a mess? Of course I am. Now, the O1 has no name, no number. So I would put a number like I did here, right? On these. Shuttle Art has no name, no number. Mr. Pen, no name, no number. Okay. Zayar, no name, no number. King Art, name, number. So this is a yes. Distress, Salty Ocean, there is no number, but the names match throughout all the lines. The colors match up throughout all the lines. So I'm okay with no number because I'm not trying to figure out, is this the same one in another set? There's no salty sea, right? There's nothing that makes this wonky. Distress has their colors and they're across the line. So I'm not going to ding them for that. This is the Mungio. It has a name. It has a number. My problem with these is a lot of these, is it these? Yeah. A lot of these, the actual wrapper moves back and forth. This one seems to be attached pretty well. Okay? But that's a yes. The Neocolor 2 has a name and a number. The Lyra, name and number. iCrayon, name and number. And Gelato has a name on the lid, which I hate. Especially since it's a sticker, because they can come off. So I'm not as big a fan of that. But they do have a name. So that also is a distinction. What else is a distinction? This one, this is the King Art. The King Art has like a grip. So it's almost like a textured surface right here. That makes it a little different. Packaging wise, the O crayons have great packaging. The Mr. Pen and the shuttle art. So these have a case. These have a case. These have plastic. These two have plastic. These have a box, and these are all tins. No. Yes. Lyra tin. No, the Moongeo. The Moongeo is in a box. It says it's in a tin, but is not. Now, if you order them a month from now, they might have a tin. I don't know. Mine was advertised with a tin, came in a box. So, there's that. These three come in tins. Okay? So you have a little bit of variance in packaging. The Distress comes 6 to a pack, right? And their packaging is a very strong plastic that you could keep and keep them in it. The new gelato packaging is meh to me. I'm not super impressed with it. The Zayar is just a small cardboard box, so it's meh. The shuttle art, absolutely horrendous. Like floppy, fall apart, super thin plastic. The second you open them, they all fall out. Absolutely terrible. Mr. Penn had decent packaging. It's just clear plastic, but it was firmer. It stayed intact. I really like the case that both of these come in. The King Art comes in smaller cases. Like this, right? I will tell you that if you have trouble with hand strength, you may struggle with these. Because as you can see, I am struggling a little. You really got to kind of get your nail under there a little bit. This one pops off pretty easily. So I will tell you that may or may not be a problem for you. But the cases then come in a box. So I thought that was really nice because then they tuck away very nicely and yet you still have a nice case. Obviously the tins are great. So that kind of speaks to the packaging. Now we went through all the individual results, so if you haven't seen that, check out a previous video. Let's take a peek at my pictures. But we'll start with the distressed crayon. Now, I enjoy working with these. I will say here you can see like a texture. I shouldn't say all. I will say most. And then as we look through these, I will amend that if I need to. But a lot of times, if you go over your gel crayons with a pencil, you will get a little bit of this texture. So I did bring out a Q-tip, and I just have a little bit of zest here. You can use Gamsol. You can use whatever, what's this stuff? Mineral spirits. You can use any that you have on hand. I just happen to have a little zested. Okay, so you can see that texture here. You can go back in with your Gamsol or your zested or whatever And you can blend that out a little bit and smooth it out. I had to do this on a couple of pages that I did where I used a little bit of pencil over the top. And some work better than others. I did not think that the distress worked quite as well with the blending afterwards. To me, you still see a little of that texture, but I kind of like it. But that being said, you need to keep that in mind if you're trying to do something like a face, because you wouldn't want this kind of texture on a face. Okay? So let me put the cap on. Until we get to the next one. I colored this entire page with the exception of the faces, I think, and the little bunny, with the distress. So I didn't use a lot of pencil. I did a little bit just to add a little bit of shading. But you see, if you get a little harsh line, you can go in and soften that a little bit. You see how this is kind of wonky? This is where your mineral spirits or your blender or whatever you want to use will kind of come in handy to where you can blend this out just a little bit more and give it kind of a softer feel. I can see up here where you can kind of see my brush stroke. You can just blend that out just a little bit. What I love about working with these is it's fast. Like, you're gonna see, I did what? How many of those did we do? 9 or 10? So I did like 10 pages. I normally do about 7 or 8 pages a month. I mean, I can bump into 10 or 11, but it's pretty rare that I do this many plus my normal ones, right? Okay, so that's distress. I'm going to do them just kind of in order here. This one was done entirely with Lyra. Okay, I enjoyed using these very much, and I felt like I got a pretty nice watercolor type of effect with the Lyra, right? And I just felt like I could have went in and done a lot more detail with my little squirrels and my little critters here, but I didn't, and I'm okay with this page. To me, I love the watercolor feel that I was able to get. Okay, next up, this is the O stick. I did a little bit of blending, but I left this up here because I wanted you to see it. I kind of struggled with this page, to be perfectly honest. Based on my experiments, right, when I had the one page and we were doing our tests, I really thought I would enjoy working with these more than I did. This was the first one that I did. Did I get better over time? Maybe. Were they awful? No, they weren't. They were not awful at all. I did use like a metallic here for the trumpet, and I used silver metallic here for the drum and the drums. But as far, I did the background with the pen, with the gel crayon. So take it for what it is, and keep in mind the price difference. And maybe I just had a bad technique. This one was done using the shuttle art. And for both of these, I used Arctic's acrylic paint pens over them because I was kind of sloppy in how I did it. You can kind of see it like here. I'm sure you can see it a lot. I definitely covered it up a lot better on this one. But they were fine to work with. I didn't struggle as much with these as I did these. And I'm going to put like a sped up version at the end of this video so that you can see me using these, so that you can get a feel for how I used them and whether or not you think I'm an idiot. Feel free to feel that way. This one, I used the eye crayon. I was kind of disappointed. I like the background that I got. I struggled a lot with it, and I didn't feel like they did nearly as well blending with I didn't feel they did nearly as well blending with the odorless mineral spirits. Do you see how they're leaving scratch marks? These two colors aren't blending, they're just lifting. So I don't know that that's a good technique for these. I felt like in others they just melted a lot better, and I got a better result, I guess. And then I did use the acrylic pens and a little bit of maybe Holbein, maybe Chromaflow. Okay, so this is the Zayar. Now these are listed on Amazon as Bible highlighters, and I was very pleased with working with them. I thought they did a really good job. You can see though the Mr. Pen did kind of transfer a little bit here. I think I can probably get that up just with an eraser. But it's something to think about. You may want to spray your work. I've never really had too big of a problem like with nail colors and stuff, but a fixative on every page hurts nobody. Okay. This one was done with Mr. Pen. And once again, I enjoyed using those, and then I did color them, I think, using Holbein pencils. So this image was done in pencil. It's just the background that I did with the Mr. Pen. Okay, next up is the Mungio. I did the background in Mungio, and I think everything else I colored with colored pencil. Okay, I enjoyed the Mungio very much. It's probably going to be my favorite if you can't afford. To me, if you're stepping down from the Neocolor 2s at $1.73, Gelatos and Distress are $1.60. That's not much of a step down. So I would say out of these, get the ones that appeal to you. The Lyra and the Mungio are my top performers budget-wise. Okay? And then, of course, you have Ultra Budget, which I think they did well. I personally felt like I could work with any of these and get good results. Okay? And I think I did. Here we have the King Art. I did King Art for the background and the moon, and then I colored everything else with Holbein pencils. Okay, but the white shading around the moon and everything is still the King Art, and I did enjoy these very much as well. So, you know, I'm not talking bad, but King Art and Mungio are very close in price. So, but they're very different in terms of appearance and in feel. These feel a lot harder. These are more smushy, but you can see I got good results from both, and I enjoyed using both. All right, and the last one was the Neocolor 2s, and I did the background with those. I colored these guys with pencil. The moon is also pencil, and then I used like a glitter pen for the stars. Hopefully you can see that. Let me know. I got a new light, and it gives me a lot more. You know how I always bang on my light and it sounds like a little bell? So hopefully I won't have to do that anymore. But I love my Neocolor 2s. This was the very last one. I just did it the other night. It was kind of late at night, so you didn't get anything out of the ordinary, but this is how I would use them, is this way, just to make a nice clean background. So anyway, that's the pictures. So what are my recommendations? This is my recommendation. Absolutely love the Neocolor 2s. I don't think you can go wrong with these. This is an investment that you do once, and you shouldn't have to do it again. And if you do, you might be replacing 1 to 2 colors. Okay? It's just something you're not going to burn through them. Okay? So, if you can afford Neocolor 2s, fantastic. But you're watching this video because you want an alternative. So let's talk about that. My ultra budget recommendation, okay, so looking at my chart, I calculated everything up. The O crayon has 29, Shuttle Art 23. They got dinged for their packaging. So if you want to forget about packaging, you could add 4 more, and that would be 27. 28, 28, 29, 31 to 32 for King's Art, 30 for iCrayon, 34 to 35 for Lyra, 34 to 36 for Distress Crayon, 31 to 35 for Gelato, and 36 to 38 for the Neocolor 2. So I will say this, my personal recommendation, if I was buying these for myself or for someone that colors like I do, Neocolor 2s, Lyra, King Art, Mungio, and I really like the Zayar. I like them for their palette, and I enjoyed working with them. If you look how smooth everything blended out. It was nothing fancy, but I thought it did a good job. Mr. Pen also did well. I probably wouldn't recommend the O one. I like the case. I get that they're 33 cents. I struggled working with them. Shuttle Art, there was a fair amount of crumbs. They just weren't my favorite. And I feel like these are significantly lower in price than, but Mr. Pen is only 49 cents. I would probably get Mr. Pen over Shuttle Art or the O pencil. The Mungio and the King Art, I think, are your best value. The Lyra and the Neocolor 2 are probably, well, the King Art, yeah. The Lyra and the Neocolor 2 are your bougier options. But Lyra is 50 cents a crayon cheaper. And they have good packaging. I enjoyed working with them. I wasn't super impressed with the iCrayon. Now that's just me, and bear in mind I didn't get the classic set. I got the European set, and sometimes the pigment does matter. You'll find that, maybe a yellow is softer than a brown or something like that. It just depends on how they're mixing them. But as far as open stock, your open stock is your Distress, your Gelato, your Neocolor 2s, and a few King Art. So keep that in mind. I enjoyed the Distress crayons more than the Gelatos. I enjoyed the Neocolor 2s more than the Distress crayon. I enjoyed probably the Lyras a little more than the Distress crayon, to be honest. But, I didn't have any problems with the Distress crayon. But it could be this book, too. It could be the paper. That's why I did a page in that book for every one of these. So take my results, guys. Watch how I color. Watch how I come up with my numbers. Because you might be screaming at me, "No, Wendy, that's terrible. Like, why are you giving it such a high score?" Or why are you giving it such a low score? Or some of you might own some of these and tell me, I think you're way off. And I will respect that 100% because we all color differently. And I will tell you, the things that I use when deciding how much money to put into something like this. How often do you color? How do you color on the go? Like, I never take my coloring. I will take it on vacation if I'm going in my van, like in my RV. I call it an RV. We converted a van. If I'm going in there, I will. I don't take my coloring on a plane. I don't take it to my family's house when I visit, that kind of stuff. I know people that do, and I think that's cool. But if you're someone that travels, you may prefer something more portable like a crayon, right? Because they're going to take up a lot less room than 50 of these is going to take up way less room than 50 of these, right? If you only color every once in a while, you may want to go with a much cheaper set because you're doing it occasionally with your kids for fun or whatever, right? Or maybe you're just testing out, do I like water mediums and that kind of stuff. So feel free to be up in this range, in the price range. You don't have to jump to the Neocolor 2s, but you can also get smaller sets. So you gotta weigh what's important to you, and I'm hoping that this chart will help you. I don't care about packaging because I number everything myself. They're going to be like this, where they're going to have a number on them and a swatch chart. I could care less about their packaging. I care about their name and number when I very first put the name on. And if I'm doing a color along, I want to be able to, it doesn't help me to tell you use number 10, because I will say that there's 6 blues that are very similar in the case color in the O crayon. So that's not going to help me as an artist doing a color along with you, because how do I tell you which one of these I have? Okay, so that would eliminate these for me to use on the channel. Okay, same with, well, maybe shuttle art I can get away with it because there's only a dark blue and a light blue in the 48 set. But still, what if you have a 72 set and you have 4 blues? Now you're trying to second guess which colors I'm using. So you need to look at what factors are important to you. For me, as a non-YouTube creator, if I was just coloring in books by myself, I would want the open stock options, because I definitely have favorite colors that I go through. For example, my Holbeins, one of my greens is this big. It's my favorite green in the thing. And the ivory color is about that big too. The rest of my set is perfectly fine. Am I going to buy a whole nother set of Holbeins? Heck no. I love that I can just buy those 2 pencils. Okay, so use this chart to your advantage. I will try and take a picture and stick it in the video. If not, screenshot it right here. I'll keep my hands out of the way so that you can, is it all in frame? Yeah. So that you can take a look at it and see what you think. My next video, I am going to try and show you the 4 or 5 different ways that I use these, and some little tips and tricks, like, for example, blending solutions, alternatives to water, how to use water without warping your page so much, all of the different things, how to blend without having one color overtake the other, and we'll maybe color a page using, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 of these sets. We'll see. But I'm definitely going to show you some tips and tricks and techniques and how I use them. So make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that video. Thank you for your patience. Stay grumpy, my friends, and happy coloring. Thank you for watching another video from Jazzydoodledesigns. If you'd like even more Jazzydoodle and a little more snark, please check out the membership below. If you're looking for a community where you can share your work and chat with other fellow colorists in a safe and welcoming environment, hit the subscribe button to Jazzydoodledesigns and then look for Jazzydoodledesigns Coloring Community on Facebook. And there you can join a group of fellow colorists to talk all things coloring and share cute pet pictures. I hope to see you there, and until next time, happy coloring.